Welcome everyone, today we have a very exciting Druid build for Diablo 4. Oh boy, this build is by far the hardest build to collect and also to farm. But let me show you guys the highlights and let's go through the video. So this is our Druid guys, look how much we hit. We'll hit about, 2000, 4000 a slam and we're pretty manly. So normally attack, we can gain a lot of spirit by using normal attack. We're very durable, we control a lot of enemies, they will just quit for 8000. So we hit pretty hard and we're very good at dealing AoE damage. Now, one thing to notice about the Druid is we have multiple ways of gaining Fortify, and you can see this as we go. And we have multiple ways of stun locking enemies, and we're very durable. So over here you can see the slams, we actually hit a very wide area, so this makes us very good in terms of, hitting multiple enemies. And here, having a lot of enemies, what I do is, I can have my Fortify, I have my shield, I have my AoE disable, and I slam them, they all die. It is not as incredible as the mage build, but I'll show you guys two parts of it. This is why the build could be a little OP, because I'll show you very soon. I'm saving a little bit. One of it I want to show you is how much you slam for gold. So here we just found the Great Shire, and look at the gold on the floor. The one slam does so much gold simply because it shakes, and one enemy will echo multiple times. You farm so much gold if you find a pack of enemies. Here I'm only hitting 1 or 2 enemies. Look at the gold. Pretty OP, right? This is like a gold farming build. So another Shire, I want to show you guys again. Bunch of enemies, we slam, and look at the gold go. I'm actually trying to collect them. So I don't want to kill them in one shot. And if you don't kill them in one shot, you actually get a lot more gold. So there's a lot more gold to be slammed. So this is one of the reasons I said this build can be a little broken. Now the second part about this build being broken is that this build actually led me to discover the best way of getting more legendaries in beta. And we still have a few hours in case you guys are testing and going for legendaries. This is by far the best way I've found to find legendaries, because it seems like they've nerfed the resetting of the events for the obos. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually AFKing. I got my friend's very powerful, I got my friend's Druid to level 25 and he's standing there. And me, I'm actually the necromancer that's farming the map. And what he does is he just waits for me to find legendaries on this map, and when I get legendaries I come over and loot it on the map, because here I'm looking at my skills or just perking for the Druid, and all of a sudden there's a legendary. So this is by far the fastest way of farming with 2 players, and you can even do with more players, but 2 players is definitely enough. I'm just waiting for the stars to show on the map, and I'll have the link below for you guys where to farm this map. We talked about this before, but I didn't know at level 35 it's so good. This is actually how I was able to find my final piece for the Druid build. And boy, it took us 2 days to try to plan it and also try to find all the items. This build requires quite a bit of item, and this particular item is the highest roll and the best item we want to be on the 2-handed weapon, which I'll show you guys very soon, because this instant kills almost all the enemies in front of you. So yes, the second OP part about this build is it led to the discovery of the best way of getting legendaries. You can see on the map, no matter where you are in the dungeon, even if it's not scouted, if you see the golden star, that means it's a legendary. And we're farming a map with so many elites, it's almost one round we get 1 legendary, and this way with about 5, or actually it took us 15 minutes to get about 6 legendaries, because the necromancer actually farm a map every 2 minutes. So this is really good, and I definitely recommend trying this if you want more legendaries. And just before we start, I just want to show you how happy I was. This is what I found it finally, and this is me. Yay! Yay! So yeah, I was so happy by finding the particular legendary, because we needed that to make the build, and it's been 2 days for the Druid and we still haven't found it, and we finally got it to make the build for you. So coming over to a character, what I'll do is, same as usual, I'll show you guys the gameplay and also skill rotations and also combos at the end of the video. Now, we're going to go through the items, then we go talk about the skill tree. We're doing this is because the items will change the skill tree. This is why we perk skill tree differently, because of those items. The biggest item over here is going to be this two-handed weapon with Pervertise, which creates a shockwave, which deals 250% damage on its path. This turns this spell into AoE at a massive radius, as you're going to see in the replay later. And next up we have this one. I'm doing more damage with earth spells, and this gives me 74% more critical chance with earth spells. After that, we'll look at more of my offensive perks, which is going around Pervertise. So we're turning Pervertise into an earth spell. This is why Pervertise initially it is not an earth spell. So briefly coming over here. Pervertise initially it is not an earth spell. We're turning the spell into an earth spell because of these particular legendary aspects. And this also deals a little more damage, which is how we get more gold. Over here we have another offensive aspects, and here we dealing more damage for the core spell after attacking with basic spell. Basic spell is the best way for us to gain spirit, which is the energy for the druid, and we'll be attacking a few times, and this means you can stack up to 50% more damage with one slam. And the final offensive piece we have is having Earth spell slow enemies, which allows us to enjoy the slow bonus damage, and also when enemies are crowd controlled, we deal more damage. Now as for the helmet, because we have so much crowd control, I'm going with the 20% increased crowd control duration, which is really good, and also we deal more damage to the enemies who are unstoppable like the boss. As for the chest and also for the pants, I'm going with the Earthen Bulwark, which allows us to have higher Earthen Bulwark when enemies are crowd controlled. Perfect for the build, right? Because you see a lot of crowd control, a lot of stun, lots of slow. And here we get another replenishment for the Earthen Bulwark as it activates, which is really good, and also increase duration by 6 seconds, so make us very durable with Fortify. Now finally, I have an interesting combination. Because I want more control, having my Vine Creeper, which is one of my skills, will poison enemies and also immobilize them and also deal damage to them, right? And while that's happening to them, if I cast my Deliberating Roar, and this allows me to immobilize poison enemies for 2.4 seconds, and this multiplies with increased duration of control, makes us really powerful. Now jumping over to the skill tree, we'll go back to the gear stats and also the sockets later. So now you kind of notice the legendary combinations for the druid. It is quite hard to get those, and I do recommend having at least this two-handed weapon before you start trying. And also turning Paralyze into an Earth spell will perk a lot of good skill passives into more damage, so those are quite essential. After that, the bonus damage is nice, and also additional damage is nice, but they're not necessary. So those two codex are legendaries, this one for the two-handed weapon and this one on the ring is a must-have for the build. So looking at the skill tree, we'll be using 1 point into Windshare and also additional point for the vulnerability. Over here we'll be going with 6 or 5 points into Pulverize with 1 item skill points added. We'll be only going with 1 upgrade for this spell, which allows us to do Overpower every 10 seconds while we're healthy, and with a lot of shield we'll be quite healthy. Now here I have perked into higher damage for 30% cost skill damage for 15% more cost. But if you find yourself low on spirit and energy, you can perk for this for 30% increase of spirit, which is actually really good. And as you acquire spirit, notice here you'll be getting more cost skill damage up to 50%, which is also really good to combine with the combinations. So there is definitely a choice between the passives over here for more damage or more spirit. Now I have perked 1 point into the Earthen Bulwark because of our legendary codex and also aspects, and we'll be going unstoppable and also provide us with more Fortify. Similarly, 1 point into Deliberating Roar and also another point into more Fortify to make us more durable. Over here, 1 point into Vine Creeper and also upgrades for increased duration and also provide us with a 20% critical chance when enemies are disabled by the Vine Creeper, which allows us to hit very hard. And with a 20% critical chance increase, this particular item gave us another 74% critical chance damage, which is massive. Now over here on the wrap section, we'll be going with 3 points into Crushing Earth, which gave us another 15% more damage, because enemies are always slowed, stunned and also immobilized. And finally, for massive control and also energy replenishment, we'll be going with Fort Petrify. And Petrify's upgrade provides additional duration and also more spirit when we kill enemies. And as you see in the replay, this is how we get lots of energy back, and this is how we have a massive burst against multiple horde of enemies. Now quickly going over for the stats of the gears. So here we want core skill damage, and also we want bonus damage to crowd control enemies, and this is on the weapon. Other than that, you do want the spirit cost reduction, which is really good. And of course you want critical chance, critical damage, and also vulnerability damage if you can. Other than that, you do want to look for the increased rank of Prioritize on the gloves, and this is quite important. And everything else is okay, and whatever you can get is nice, right? And as for the sockets, I'm going with maximal life for all of my sockets on armor, and also increase critical strike damage on the crowd control enemies by 7.5%, which means we'll be hitting a lot harder. Now coming over to our gameplay, and I'll show you guys the combinations of the particular build. So over here what you're going to see is normal attack will provide us with high damage, so whenever you can always normal attack up to 50% bonus damage. And now, if you slam enemies, you are triggering multiple effects. You are triggering critical hit and also overpower critical hit. So this is one of the reasons you can see multiple colors of the skills getting crit. So you can see overpower, you can see crits, you can see a lot of combined. And this is how we do a lot of damage. Because our critical hit is over I think it's over 150 or even even more percentage bonus. And over here, against multiple horde of enemies, you can use your bulwark to provide the unstoppable, and also you get fortify. Now, when you stun enemies with your ultimate, when you kill them, you also gain spirit. So notice here, when I slam them, we actually have infinite spirit while they're stunned, which is really good. Against enemies, always try to slam them at normal attack. Each time you normal attack, you gain damage. So not only you get spirit, you also get damage. Again, against horde of enemies, usually I like to start with a massive disable, and then I slam them. One of the rotations I want to highlight over here is that I want to start with Vanquish first, which allows me to poison enemies. And once they're poisoned, I cast my Roar, which allows me to immobilize enemies for longer. Quite fun build though, but it is a little low on spirit to be honest. I do want to pack into more spirit, but over here I went with more damage. Against horde of enemies, of course, if you see a lot of enemies and if you short on energy, you stun them and you slam them. And of course you can use your ultimate, which is Petrify, to gain a lot of spirit, and that's what I'm doing right now. It feels very satisfying when you slam them, you feel like a boss. And of course with the Great Shire, what you do is you get a bunch of enemies and slam them for bonus damage and also gold. Now hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and one of the highlights I really have for this video is this finding the legendary. The method of finding legendary is actually incredible. So get a super strong friend to farm for your build, and both of you can enjoy, I think, maybe a bonus drop rate or something. But we were getting so many legendaries in the past, half hour. It was like incredible. Here I'm just looking at the skill perks, and all of a sudden, what do you know? Like I just walk around and one legendary. By the time I walk there was actually 2 legendary. So this is actually better than try to gamble, because a lot of legendaries that was dropped was actually very necessary for the build of the druid. Now before you go, and if you guys didn't know, we have a new YouTube channel. And if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe and check out the behind the scenes and also fun clips and also more stories about us. And then you get to know me a little more personally instead of just reading the news and also the games, right? So I want to share a little bit more with you guys. So make sure you check this channel out if you're interested about Matt and also Uni. She's really funny too, and she's really shy. So I want to give her a surprise and do a shout out for the new channel to get some subscribers. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys next time.